is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.
For today's top stories, in a high-stake standoff, the Philippine Coast Guard has ramped up its presence at Escoda Shoal, strategically positioned to deter China's persistent encroachment and illegal reclamation activities in the area. Meanwhile, the Philippine Senate has started regional consultations to discuss proposed changes to the economic provisions of the Constitution, aiming to attract foreign investment and improve education. Also in the headlines, Thailand has received the sad news that 2 more Thai hostages have died while being held captive by Hamas. And in other news, one of the Biden administration's top officials is set to visit the Middle East this weekend as Israel's military operation in Rafah intensifies. I am Franco Baranda. Newsline World starts now. The Philippine Coast Guard is on high alert at Escoda Shoal to prevent China from continuing its illegal reclamation in the area. Almar Forzuelo has the report.
The BRP Teresa Magbanwa has been anchored in Escoda Shoal or Sabina Shoal for over 30 days, just about 300 kilometers from Palawan. This marks the longest deployment of the Philippine Coast Guard or PCG in the West Philippine Sea. The Coast Guard took this action to prevent China from building another artificial island in the area. The PCG discovered that broken corals were dumped in Escoda Shoal, suspected to be the work of China. According to Commodore J. Tariela, PCG spokesperson for the West Philippine Sea, what happened in Escoda Shoal is similar to what happened in Sandy Cay.
Ang nakita naman natin dito sa Escoda Shoal is also the same characteristics of dumping of crushed corals na nakita ni Dr. Anticamara ng mga marine scientists natin from BFAR and the Department of Agriculture sa Sandy Cay nung nakaraang Marso. So, we have all the reasons to believe na itong mga ipinakita natin ay hindi lamang chismis, hindi lamang gawa-gawa.
The PCG stated that 3 Chinese research vessels are still near Sabina Shoal in the West Philippine Sea, so the Coast Guard remains vigilant. Tariela added that due to the Coast Guard's presence, China has not conducted any illegal activities in the area. He also mentioned that the area where the corals were dumped has not expanded.
Our mere presence there have already deterred the People's Republic of China in continuing their illegal reclamation because we haven't noticed any progress dito sa reclamation nila. Kung ano ang size ng reclaimed areas na pinagtambakan nila, mula noon hanggang ngayon na nandun ang Philippine Coast Guard, hindi naman na lumaki.
The Coast Guard explained that it is crucial to prevent China's illegal reclamation activities in Sabina Shoal, because if not, it will become easier for China to block military operations in the area, such as resupply missions.
Kung sakaling magiging successful sila in doing this reclamation in Sabina Shoal, it will be easier for them, no, na tuluyang harangan ang ating resupply operation sa Ayungin. Dahil pinapagitna na siya ng dalawang area kung sakaling mare-reclaim nila ang Sabina Shoal. And it will be easier for them to deploy their own vessels in countering or hindering the efforts of the armed forces of the Philippines and the Philippine Coast Guard.
Regarding the question of why warships are not being deployed in the disputed territories,
the primary reason why Coast Guard is the priority in terms of our deployment in the West Philippine Sea, it's because of 2 reasons. No? One, we don't intend to militarize the issue in the West Philippine Sea. This is the primary objective why the Coast Guard vessels are being deployed in the West Philippine Sea. Second is we don't want to provoke or escalate the tension. No?
For God and my beloved Philippines, Almar Forzuelo, SMNI News.
The Senate's first regional consultation for proposed amendments to certain provisions of the Constitution under resolution of both houses, number 6, has begun. Find out the public sentiment in the report by Carlo de la Peña.
There was a positive reception to the proposed amendments to certain provisions of the 1987 Constitution, particularly regarding economic charter change. This was the sentiment of representatives from the private and public sectors, various government agencies, and local government officials who attended the first round of regional consultations in Baguio City on May 17. Among those present were the local chief executives of Benguet and Baguio City.
We've been reading the economic provisions and we don't have any objections, so we approve with the economic provisions.
And with the current landscape, our industries would be able to support an economic track that is globally competitive, dynamic, and adaptive to economic trends.
Meanwhile, although he agrees that the economic provisions of the Constitution should be amended, Governor James Eduba of Kalinga has a request regarding the plan to open the economy to foreigners.
Ito, pag participate yung may participation itong mga foreign industries dito para mapalaki yung mga resources na pwede ma-invest dito. But please consider also yung mga kung saan nanggagaling yung resources. Like for example, the payment of taxes. In business sa Cordillera, babayaran kung dito yung mina. Doon naman sa offices binabayaran yung taxes namin. Na, kung minsan, hindi kami nakikinabang na dito naman iniistorbo yung bundok namin, dito yung kinukuha yung resources.
The Senate panel, led by Senator Sonny Angara along with other senators, listened to these concerns. They emphasized that Filipinos would still be the priority.
Baka matakot kasi yung mga kababayan natin na binubuksan natin yung ekonomiya. It does not mean that this is not na hindi natin proprotekta o tutulungan ang ating mga negosyong Pilipino. By all means, we want to build up our industries also dahil doon magkakaroon ng trabaho para sa ating mga kababayan.
Dapat po ang sambayan ng Pilipino po ang makikinabang dito, yung mga mahihirap nating kababayan. Bilang mga lingkod bayan, anumang gagawin natin ay dapat nakaayon sa kagustuhan ng sambayan ng Pilipino.
Meanwhile, regarding the proposed amendment to the education provision, Governor Eduba expressed reservations.
For the education sector, I would rather say na let it remain dito sa Pilipino. Kasi dito natin nabubuo kung ano yung mga moral standard natin mga Pilipino. So I think it should remain to us na dapat hindi nagalawin yan.
However, for Don Mariano Memorial State University La Union, changes in higher education are timely but should be accompanied by
ensure that there would be a strict regulatory body and procedures for the accreditation, recognition of foreign universities who would like to branch out in the country.
Senator Bato de la Rosa assured that whatever the outcome of the hearings, sectors potentially affected by the proposed changes will be protected.
To the people of Baguio and the Cordilleras, whatever the outcome of this political exercise may be, I will see to it that the environment and the cultural identity of everyone is protected and at all times respected.
The goal of RBH 6 is to amend the economic, education, and advertising provisions of the 1987 Constitution. Meanwhile, Baguio City Mayor Benjamin Magalong criticized those pushing for the People's Initiative to amend the Constitution.
I would like also to decry some efforts of some legislators to pursue the People's Initiative. I believe it is purely unethical. However, I also firmly believe that the process for moving these kinds of legislations forward should be aligned with what is provided in our Constitution, and that the core foundations of nationalism and national interest are still primarily protected, and if not strengthened.
Associated with this is the alleged term extension of those currently in the Marcos administration, a move that the majority of Filipinos, including former President Rodrigo Duterte, oppose. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, this has been Carlo de la Peña, SMNI News.
The National Food Authority eyes a possible shortfall in rice supply for buffer stocks next year if the government does not allocate the requested funding of more than 16 billion pesos. Sheena Torno has the news.
The National Food Authority or NFA confirmed that they are purchasing a limited supply of palay from local farmers for their buffer stocks in preparation for possible calamities in the country. This is despite the NFA raising its procurement price for palay. According to NFA Acting Administrator Larry Lacson, Only 117,000 metric tons of palay have been purchased so far. This is far from the nearly 500,000 metric tons of palay that NFA is capable of buying from local farmers. However, the NFA is optimistic about reaching the target buffer stocks for the upcoming wet season. Lacson said that they still need funds for palay procurement for next year.
16.35 billion pesos for 2025. It's only solely for procurement ng palay sa ating mga magsasaka. It's because ang target natin dyan is 545,000 metric tons of palay. Minultiply lang natin siya sa highest buying price natin sa ngayon. So kanya yun yung hinihingi nating pondo for 2025.
He added, this is sufficient to fund rice that can be used in times of calamity or urgent need, especially with the onset of La Nina or the rainy season where multiple typhoons are possible. However, NFA may face problems in 2025 if the necessary funds are not provided.
Kapag yan ay hindi naibigay ng buo, ang option dyan is 1, liitan namin ang volume ng bibilihin namin or babaan namin ang presyo ng palay na bibilihin namin. So, dalawa lang yung posibleng gawin namin doon just to adjust kung magkano man yung ibibigay na pondo sa next year. So, definitely kapag hindi na ibigay namin yan, magsasuffer yung volume ng buffer stock namin.
Hence, the NFA is calling for support.
Siguro ganito na lang, no? Ang mandato naman ng NFA is buffer stocking. We're just planning for the right buffer stock for 2025 na sana nga maibigay sa atin.
As for the controversial plan to amend the Rice Tarification Law or RTL, which aims to return the mandate of selling cheap rice to the market, but some senators have rejected it, expressing their lack of trust in the NFA. They believe that it could once again be a source of corruption. Lacson, on the other hand, understands the senator's disappointment with the NFA's performance, particularly regarding the agency's involvement in some corruption issues.
Naku, kahit na sino sigurong ilagay mo dito, hindi niya kayang sasabihin 100%. I can assure wala ng corruption, no? Masyadong that's a tall order. Ang aking not assurance, but ang aking masasabi is, I will do my best na as the acting administrator to really implement measures and change some of the ways, some of the standard operating procedures to eliminate or at least minimize or to a degree, very minimal, yung possible na opportunity for corruption.
For God and for my beloved Philippines, this has been Sheena Torno, SMNI News.
The former foreign minister of Singapore has made a statement regarding the current situation in the South China Sea. Get the details from Valde Vinagracia.
According to former Singaporean Foreign Minister George Yeo, the current state of politics in the Philippines is the reason for the heightened tension between the Philippines and China over maritime claims in the South China Sea. In an interview with CGTN, Yeo discussed China's view of the Philippines under both the previous and current administrations concerning the disputed waters.
Much of what the Philippines is now doing is the result of domestic politics. President Duterte reached some kind of an understanding with China, including the beach LSD on Renai Chiao, but under President Marcos, they felt that was unfair, and they want to repair that ship which is breaking down, and that's a proximate cause of the current tension.
Yeo also noted that when the Philippines brought the issue to the International Tribunal under UNCLOS, or the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, it did not consult its neighboring countries.
When the Philippines took China to UNCLOS, it never consulted ASEAN. So ASEAN felt no obligation to support the Philippines. And over the Second Thomas Shoal or Renai Chiao, ASEAN shows great discomfort because they really don't want escalation and conflict in their own backyard.
It can be recalled that in 2016, the Philippines won the international arbitration against China, which declared Beijing's 9-line maritime claims as having no legal basis. However, China did not recognize this ruling, insisting that the tribunal had no jurisdiction and continued to assert its historical rights in the South China Sea.
I remember reading through the UNCLOS tribunal report. It was about 400 pages, and I thought it was kind of strange because China wasn't there, and it adjudged to be a weak case. I think the legality of China's claims is not weak at all, but it's not well presented in non-Chinese languages.
Under the Marcos administration, the Philippines has shifted its foreign policy, and there have been renewed allegations of U.S. interference in the issue. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, this is Valdivina Gracia. SMNI News.
When former President Rodrigo Duterte is being attacked or lauded by those who have been associated in politics, chances are this will get picked up by the media or possibly even making headlines. Former Senator Antonio Trillanes III or the Fourth is once again making attacks on former President Rodrigo Duterte by linking him to the International Criminal Court in relation to the Duterte's drug war on drugs campaign. Recently, Trillanes said that the ICC is expected to issue a warrant of arrest against former President Duterte around the time of President Ferdinand Marcos Jr.'s third State of the Nation address on July this year. But the most recent statement of Trillanes was that there are active and retired members of the Philippine National Police and Armed Forces of the Philippines who are allegedly being recruited to join a destabilization plot against the President Marcos Jr. The former senator claims that this is intended to protect Duterte amid the looming warrant of arrest that he says is expected to be issued by the ICC. However, former Chief Presidential Legal Counsel Attorney Salvador Panelo said that Trillanes is simply riding on the popularity of former President Duterte.
Kahapon, marami naman nag-text sa akin media. Ano naman daw masasabi ko kay Trililing? May mga bago naman payag eh. Sabi ko, alam niyo po yan si The Renegade. He's riding on and using the popularity of President Duterte to publicize himself, to use it to his advantage. Kasi pag Duterte ang bibigyan mo ng banat o pupuriin, ano kagad eh, nasa dyaryo kagad. O yun ang ginagawa niya. Tatakbo eh. Tatakbo sa, I don't know kung anong tatakbuhan niya.
Duterte's critic has already signaled the possibility for him to run for mayor in Caloocan City in the upcoming 2025 elections. It can be remembered that Trillanes failed to make a comeback in the Senate in 2022. Based on official voting results, he came 21st place among the senatorial candidates in the previous elections. Meanwhile, Attorney Panelo shared that the former president is aware of Trillanes' statements against Duterte but simply laughs it off. The Philippine Olympic Committee, or POC, has announced that 12 Filipino athletes have qualified and will compete in the 2024 Paris Olympics, with the possibility of this number increasing. Additionally, the POC has confirmed a one-month training camp for Filipino athletes in France. President Catarong reports.
In preparation for the upcoming 2024 Paris Olympics, Filipino athletes will be holding a month-long training camp in Metz, France. According to Tagaytay City Mayor Abraham Tolentino, who is the president of the Philippine Olympic Committee, the said training will push through as planned, something they've been meticulously preparing for a long time. He said in this training camp, the sports lab, sports clinic, and all the equipment needed or used in the Olympics are already there.
So, first time po natin magkakaroon ng training camp before Olympics. Nandun po yung acclimatation, lahat, para masanay na lahat sa para ding agriculture yan, no? Para ding sa mga cattles natin, kailangan masanay muna sa weather and everything.
Tolentino reported that there are already 12 Filipino athletes who have qualified to compete in the 2024 Paris Olympics. Among the sports that the country will participate in are fencing, rowing, pole vault, 3 from gymnastics, 3 in boxing, and 3 from weightlifting. The Philippine Olympic Committee president stated that this number could still increase.
We're expecting, God willing, we're still praying and expecting na madadagdagan pa for sure. And ang kutob ko ay mas marami pang madadagdag kaysa nag-qualify po.
Tolentino revealed that Filipino athletes from sports such as boxing, golf, cycling, long jump, aquatics or swimming, skateboarding, and others could potentially be added to the Paris Olympics.
So pag tinotal niyo po yun, talagang more than 12 pa po ang pumasok halimbawa na may dagdag. So with that, we'll be beating the Tokyo Olympics na 19 po yung atleta natin na nag-qualify. So this will be one of the biggest since 1950s or 1956 Olympics.
For God and for my beloved Philippines, this has been Cresceline Catarong, SMNI News.
When we return, Thailand has received the sad news that 2 more Thai hostages have died while being held captive by Hamas. And one of the Biden administration's top officials is set to visit the Middle East this weekend as Israel's military operation in Rafah intensifies. Newsline World will be back after the break.
Abangan ng Banateros tuwing Lunes hanggang Huwebes, live dito lang sa SMNI.
Yan ang Banateros, walang inuurungan. Pag tama palakpakan, pag mali ay babanatan.
Magandang umaga Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao. Maayong buntag mga kapartner. Magandang araw sa buong mundo.
Magandang araw Pilipinas. Ito ang Pulso ng Bayan.
Hihimayin ang mga pangunahing issue sa ating bayan. Susuriin ang mga kinakailangang malaman ng taong bayan. Aalamin ang pulso ng bawat Pilipino sa mga pangyayari sa ating lipunan. Pulso ng Bayan, alas 7 hanggang alas 9 ng umaga, tuwing Lunes hanggang Biyernes. Kasama ang spokes ng Bayan, Attorney Harry Roque, Admar Vilando at Jade Calabroso. Dito lang sa SMNI.
Na si Apollo Kibuloy. Pastor Apollo Kibuloy.
Kibuloy is a threat to peace and order in the country.
Father, you have ordained leaders for the development and prosperity of our country, no matter what. The scriptures are very clear. And the scriptures tells us to put them up in supplications and prayers, that they may do the right thing, that they may guide our nation towards peace and development and prosperity.
Before I become extinct, I'd like to say to you, talagang you are the son of God.
Tatanungin, kahit saang aspeto, gusto ko garantisado. Metikuloso akong tao, kaya gusto ko lahat maayos at sigurado. Lahat quality, yung hindi ako makukompromiso, pero sulit ang presyo. Ganyan ang clean fuel, kaya dito, panatag ang loob ko. Utang. Kung gusto mo unang dekalidad na gasolina pero sulit ang halaga, mag-clean fuel ka.
Problema nyo, itawag kay Panelo. Ikaw ba'y may suliranin na may kinalaman sa mga ahensya ng ating pamahalaan? Inihahandog ng SMNI ang programang makakapiling ninyo sa araw-araw na maaring ninyong maging daingan. Tampok ang dating Chief Legal Counsel ng nakaraang Pangulo, ang veteranong abogado na si Attorney Salvador Sal Panelo.
Bishops.
Tulong at payo tagapamagitan sa ating mga lingkod bayan. Problema nyo, itawag kay Panelo. Lunes hanggang Biyernes alas 9 hanggang alas 10 ng umaga dito lamang sa SMNI. Ang totoong boses ng bayan.
Kami pong dalawa ni Pastor ay naniniwala na dapat tapusin na ang armed struggle dito sa Pilipinas. Katulad po ng sinabi ni Tatay Digong, ang kailangan natin sa bansang ito ay law and order. At iyan po ang ipinaglaban ni Pastor Kibuloy. Sa kanyang pinaglaban, siya po ay dumadaan sa isang pakikibaka na hindi natin siya iiwan. Hindi natin pwedeng iwan ang taong nagsakripisyo sa bayan.
Mahal ko po kayong lahat. Pagpalain natin ang ating bansang Pilipinas. Pagpalain tayo ng ating puting Diyos. Pagpalain at ibigay natin ang lahat ng kapangyarihan sa Kanya. At tandaan ninyo ito, hindi mananaig ang kadiliman sa bansang ito habang may boses na ganito.
Justicia! 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 Justicia!
The Senate should investigate the insubordination of the Philippine Coast Guard spokesperson for the West Philippine Sea, Commodore J. Tariela, for contradicting the Philippines' official position to de-escalate tensions in the South China Sea, according to a geopolitical analyst. Jason Rubrico files this report.
In December 2023 in Tokyo, Japan, President Bongbong Marcos emphasized the need for a new approach to addressing the South China Sea issue. Marcos Jr. stated that the direction of incidents in South China Sea needs to change. He mentioned that the current path is misguided and a more peaceful approach is necessary. 2 days after the president's statement, Foreign Affairs Secretary Enrique Manalo and Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi had a phone conversation. Manalo stated that their discussion clarified both countries' positions on several issues, highlighting the importance of dialogue in addressing these matters. China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs also released details of the discussion, in which Manalo expressed hope for resolving differences in a mutually acceptable manner to ease tensions in the South China Sea. The Philippines is willing to enhance dialogue with China, utilize bilateral communication mechanisms on maritime issues, and jointly seek solutions. On January 17, 2024, the Philippines and China held a bilateral consultation mechanism on the South China Sea. According to the DFA, Undersecretary Maria Teresa Lazaro and Assistant Foreign Minister Nong Rong agreed to peacefully resolve incidents in the South China Sea through diplomacy. Both officials also concurred on the importance of ongoing dialogue to maintain peace and stability at sea. The Philippines and China also agreed to improve maritime communication mechanisms, including communications between their foreign ministries and coast guards. However, in mid-February, Philippine Coast Guard spokesperson for the West Philippine Sea, Commodore J. Tariela, issued a statement that the government would continue its transparency strategy, exposing alleged aggressive actions by China in the WPS. This statement contradicts the earlier agreement between the two countries to reduce tensions. According to the Asian Century Philippine Strategic Studies Institute, Tariela's statement clearly opposes the country's official position and constitutes insubordination.
Mukhang si Tariela na ang presidente ng Republika ng Pilipinas. Even Tariela recognizes na may this de-escalation deal. May deal. Sino ba siya na sasalungatin ang deal na ginawa sa pagitan ni President Xi Jinping and President Ferdinand E. Marcos? Insubordination, malinaw po. At wala siyang pinakita na basehan ng kanyang pag-aanunsyo doon sa strat-based ADR.
For geopolitical analyst Herman Laurel, the Senate Foreign Relations Committee should investigate Tariela's act of insubordination, a sentiment supported by his colleague Ado Paglinawan.
It's about time the people know what is happening to this country. Tama na yung mga Maharlika na yan, tama na yung mga Morales na yan. Ito yung mga cut issue hindi na-address.
Laurel added that if no investigation occurs, they would organize a People's Tribunal. Their legal team is also studying potential actions if the Senate fails to act.
Kung hindi po makapag-convene ang Senado ng investigasyon, bubuo tayo ng tribunal. At ang unang iimbitahin natin bilang witness, si Tariela. Para matanong kay Tariela, anong basehan mo sa sinabi mo noong Pebrero at 13? Nakakapagtaka bakit up to now wala pong imik ang Senado tungkol dito sa tanong na to.
For God and my beloved Philippines, I am Jason Rubrico, SMNI News.
The Commission on Elections, or COMELEC, has given an update on the number of voters who can no longer vote in the 2025 elections. Meanwhile, the agency has a clarification regarding its guidelines on candidate substitution. Here's the news of Carlo de la Peña.
More than 4 million voters have been removed from the official list of the Commission on Elections, or COMELEC. According to the agency's data, 4,237,054 were removed because they did not vote twice, 1,829 due to court orders, 525 failed to validate their records, 3 lost their Filipino citizenship, while 2 have lost eligibility because they have been convicted of serious law violations. Calabarzon Region 4A has the highest number of deleted voters, followed by Central Luzon, while the Cordillera Administrative Region has the lowest number of deleted voters. In an interview with SMNI News, COMELEC clarified that although they will prohibit candidate substitution due to candidate withdrawal, the agency has not yet removed the policy on substitution.
And besides, hindi naman po tinanggal ng COMELEC yung karapatang mag-withdraw at mag-substitute. Nandun pa rin naman po, kaya lang gawin po nila sa pagitan ng October 1 hanggang October 8. Nandun pa rin po, no? So hindi yan tinanggal.
In addition, Laudianco emphasizes the purpose of COMELEC's new guidelines on substitution.
Ano ang purpose po nun? Maagang makita ng ating mga kababayan yung mga kandidato. Hindi naman din po mapupolitika o magagamit pa sa iba yan dahil doon din naman po pupunta yun eh. Ikalawa, pagpapadali ng proseso ng paghahanda ng COMELEC, maaga nating maipapakita sino ang kandidato, maaga nating maiko-configure ang makina dahil nandun po lahat ng pangalan nila at git sa lahat, maaga po nating maimprenta ang ating mga balota.
Currently, more than 2 million new voters have been registered for the 2025 midterm elections, which is already close to COMELEC's target of 3 million set by the poll body. Applicants can still register from Monday to Saturday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. at any COMELEC office nationwide. The registration started on February 12 and will end on September 30, 2024. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, this has been Carlo de la Peña, SMNI News.
The government of Thailand received news that 2 more Thai hostages died under the custody of Hamas. The devastating news comes as Thailand persists in its efforts to release the remaining Thai hostages. Chatmongkong Pisamay Goson reports.
Thailand mourns the deaths of more citizens held captive by Hamas. The Embassy of Israel and Thailand's Foreign Affairs Ministry confirmed the news. The news came after the Royal Thai Embassy recently submitted a report to assess the condition of the hostages. A committee at the Royal Thai Embassy believes the 2 Thai hostages who worked at a farm in Israel were part of the earlier groups taken hostage by Hamas and died shortly after the October 7 attack. Their bodies are still being held by the terror group. The United States, Israel, the European Union, the United Kingdom, Canada, Japan, Argentina, Australia, Paraguay, and New Zealand have designated Hamas as a terrorist organization. In November of last year, Thai officials held direct talks with Hamas in Iran to secure the release of 22 Thai nationals held hostage in Gaza. 17 Thai workers were released from captivity by the end of November, while 32 Thai nationals died from the conflict. As of April, 8 hostages remain captive in Gaza, while 23 hostages have been released. There are now 6 remaining Thais under Hamas custody. Thailand joined several other countries last month in a global call to pressure Hamas in releasing the remaining hostages in Gaza. The country also supported a global campaign for a ceasefire, which could lead to the exchange of prisoners and the release of hostages. Reporting from Thailand, I'm Chatmongkong Pisamay Goson, your Global Citizens correspondent for SM9 News Channel.
The alert level for a stratovolcano in Indonesia has been raised to the highest level after a series of eruptions since last week. Anissa de Guzman will tell us more.
Mount Ibu, a volcano in North Maluku province, has alarmed residents and locals for showing signs of consistent volcanic activity since last week. The alert level for the stratovolcano was raised from 3 to 4, the highest on the scale. Mount Ibu has been spewing thick gray ash and dark clouds up to 16,400 feet into the air every day since last Friday, according to authorities. Authorities advised residents and tourists to not conduct any activities within 7 kilometers, 4.4 miles, of the crater and to be vigilant of any potential eruption. The 4,347-foot volcano sits on the northwest coast of the remote island of Halmahera in North Maluku province. Indonesia, an archipelago of 120 million people, sits along the Pacific Ring of Fire and has 120 active volcanoes. The incident happened nearly a month after 2,379-foot Mount Ruang in North Sulawesi erupted last month and forced authorities to issue evacuation orders for more than 11,000 people. The eruption also canceled several flights in Malaysia and Singapore. Mount Ibu's alarming activities have been announced as residents in Indonesia are still recovering from severe flash floods that killed dozens of people while the search for the missing continues. Reporting from Thailand, I'm Anissa de Guzman, your Global Citizen correspondent for God in our beloved country, the Philippines.
At the 33rd Arab League Summit in Manama, Bahrain, Arab leaders called for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza and endorsed the two-state solution, chaired by Bahrain's King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa. The summit covered a wide range of regional issues. King Hamad emphasized the need for Arab unity and dialogue to end the war's bloodshed and achieve a just peace. He also advocated for full recognition of the State of Palestine and its acceptance as an UN member, stating it would benefit the entire region. Secretary General Ahmad Abul Gheit criticized Israel's military actions in Gaza, attributing them to political support from certain Western countries. The Bahrain declaration issued after the summit aims to halt Israeli aggression and address the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. It rejects forced displacement of Palestinians and calls for a just peace solution. The declaration supports President Mahmoud Abbas, called for an international peace conference and urges quick recognition of the State of Palestine. Arab foreign ministers will continue to push for the recognition and the state's full UN membership. Guide praised the unity among Arab countries at the summit, noting the significant attendance of leaders and representatives from 21 out of 22 Arab nations. Leaders discussed various regional and international issues, including Egypt's President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, Jordan's King Abdullah II bin al-Hussein, and Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. One of the Biden's administration's top officials will visit the Middle East this weekend as Israel's military operation in Rafah deepens. Cassidy Caddis has the report.
Assalamualaikum. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan will travel to Saudi Arabia in Israel as Washington tries to dissuade the Jewish state from its military operations in southern Gaza.
Sullivan's trip to Saudi Arabia was supposed to take place in April but got postponed last minute after the American official had an injury. The National Security Advisor will discuss Israel's military operation in Rafah in southern Gaza during his trip to the region. The Biden administration and Israel reached an understanding that Israel would not expand its limited operations in Rafah before Sullivan's visit, according to a senior U.S. official. The United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees, or UNRWA, said about 360,000 people have fled Rafah since Israel issued partial evacuation orders for the city's eastern neighborhoods last week. Sullivan will also talk about normalization between Israel and Saudi Arabia during his diplomatic tour. The proposed normalization between Israel and Saudi was touted as the deal of the century that was delayed after Hamas attacked Israel on October 7th. The deal will forge a new era of relations between the Jews and the Arabs, divided by political tensions, military conflicts, and other issues.
Both Saudi Arabia and Israel share common threats: Iran and the Sunni Islamist political opposition, which brought the Arab and the Jewish state into an unlikely alliance. Reporting from Kuwait, I am Melchizedek Cadiz, your global citizen correspondent for God and for our beloved country, the Philippines.
And Slovakian police charge a 71-year-old man with attempted murder following a failed assassination attempt on the country's prime minister. Dubai looks forward for innovations as the Crown Prince of Dubai announced ambitious initiatives for Emirates. Among those are beaches built exclusively for women. And the leaders of China and Russia pledge for stronger military ties as Beijing gave Russian President Vladimir Putin a grand welcome as part of his two-day state visit. Stay tuned, Newsline World will be back.
Problema nyo, itawag kay Panelo. Ikaw ba'y may suliranin na may kinalaman sa mga ahensya ng ating pamahalaan? Inihahandog ng SMNI ang programang makakapiling ninyo sa araw-araw na maaring ninyong maging daingan. Tampok ang dating Chief Legal Counsel ng nakaraang Pangulo, ang veteranong abogado na si Attorney Salvador Sal Panelo.
Bishops.
Tulong at payo tagapamagitan sa ating mga lingkod bayan. Problema nyo, itawag kay Panelo. Lunes hanggang Biyernes, alas 9 hanggang alas 10 ng umaga. Dito lamang sa SMNI. Ang totoong boses ng bayan.
Sabi nga nila, di ba? You will know them by their love. Yun ang sinabi sa Biblia. It's not on how good you are in quoting the scripture. It's giving love.
Grabe, hindi talaga kasya yung words eh. Kung paano natin i-express yung ating na experience.
Mismo wala akong masabi. Kita ko kasi yung pagiging generous. Alam mo, madali kasi magsalita ng Diyos eh. Pero pagdating sa pera, pagdating sa pagiging generous, yung pagtulong sa iba, hindi biro yun. Maraming bagsak dyan. Maraming bagsak. Kaya ako nakikita ko yung pagiging generous niya. Hindi sa salita eh. Sa lakad. Bilib ako. Hindi dakdak. Nakita mo sa gawa. In one word, authentic. Kung akong tatanungin, kahit saang aspeto, gusto ko garantisado. Metikuloso akong tao, kaya gusto ko lahat maayos at sigurado. Lahat quality, yung hindi ako makukompromiso, pero sulit ang presyo. Ganyan ang clean fuel, kaya dito, panatag ang loob ko.
Magandang umaga po, sir. Full tank po.
Full tank. Gusto mo ng dekalidad na gasolina pero sulit ang halaga, mag-clean fuel ka.
Welcome to SMNI. You're watching Business and Politics. I'm Dante Klinkang.
Today's world can be described by the acronym VUCA, which stands for volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. And yet, being immobilized by fear is not an option. How will captains of industry navigate the course ahead? And what policy assistance will they get from the leaders in government? Watch SMNI as it tackles these and other important questions of the day. On Business and Politics, hosted by Dante Klinkang II, Chairman and CEO of the Manila Times. New episodes featuring corporate and political leaders air every Saturday. Prime time at 7 p.m. Only here on SMNI. Truth that matters.
The Slovakian police charged a 71-year-old man with attempted murder after a failed attempt to kill the country's prime minister. Trisha Molina report.
Slovakian Prime Minister Robert Fico is now in a stable condition after battling for his life at a hospital. He underwent hours of surgery following a foiled assassination attempt on Wednesday. Fico was conscious and able to speak on Thursday. The Prime Minister was shot at least 5 times while speaking to a crowd in a town in central Slovakia. The bullets hit him in the arm and stomach, which caused life-threatening injuries. Police ruled the attack as politically motivated. House Republican lawmaker Marjorie Taylor Greene reacted to his assassination attempt, suggesting his rejection of the proposed pandemic accord, but the World Health Organization a few days ago instigated the attack. Known for his pro-Russian stance, the Slovakian leader was elected prime minister in October after running a campaign where he publicly opposed Western support for Ukraine. Meanwhile, the 71-year-old gunman was immediately apprehended by the prime minister's security group. When asked for a motive, the gunman replied he opposes Fico's government policies. The suspect's wife, who happened to be a Ukrainian refugee, was also put under police custody. Reporting, this has been Trisha Molina, SMNI News.
The Crown Prince of Dubai announced ambitious initiatives for the emirate within the next 10 years, including beaches exclusive only for women. Graterol Mori reports.
More women in the UAE are loving the fact that they can get more privacy during their seaside escapades while feeling relaxed and safe. The rising demand for such spaces urged Dubai to create more women-only beaches within a decade. Heard of beaches exclusive only for women? This trend has been going on in several parts of the UAE for years now, and many women are starting to enjoy it. Sheikh Hamdan bin Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, Crown Prince of Dubai, announced ambitious initiatives for the Emirate earlier this week. The city's up-and-coming projects include the development of more than 200 parks, the expansion of cycling tracks on beaches, extending the length of night swimming beaches by 60%, and the designating of new beaches exclusively for women. The women-only beaches seek to provide safe and welcoming spaces for females seeking out a bit of relaxation and recreation. Female visitors can just be themselves and engage in different water sports and recreational activities without concerns about modesty and security. Such places are becoming more in demand in the UAE and are earning more positive feedback from visitors. The exclusive beaches promote empowerment and well-being while giving female visitors a free space to connect with other ladies, making it more than just a trend but a vital part of the social fabric. The initiative is part of the Dubai Quality of Life Strategy 2033, which is aimed at transforming the Emirate into the world's best city to live in. Dubai has been recognized as the second most family-friendly beach destination in the world in 2024, after Costa Rica. Beaches in the city not only offer a relaxing view but also delicious food and tons of activities that family and friends will enjoy together. Reporting from Dubai, I'm Giltero Omor, your global citizen correspondent for SMNA News Channel.
A nuclear-powered aircraft carrier owned by the U.S. Navy left Japan after nearly a decade of stay in the country. Natsumi Kojima with the report.
USS Ronald Reagan left the Yokosuka Naval Base near Tokyo, which marked the end of its 9-year mission. USS Ronald Reagan will be transported to a Navy maintenance facility in Washington state, according to the U.S. military. The nuclear-powered aircraft carrier arrived at the naval base in October 2015 to perform patrol duties in the waters Indo-Pacific waters. Before its official deployment, the Navy vessel assisted Japan's self-defense forces in providing relief efforts following the massive earthquake and tsunami in March 2011. Nearly 400 sailors in their white uniforms manned the vessel's rails as the aircraft carrier left Tokyo Bay on Thursday. The carrier took part in dozens of multinational exercises and visited more than 15 foreign ports during its 9-year stay. However, some locals were not happy with their deployment, stating that the presence of aircraft carriers in the area posed a nuclear hazard. USS Ronald Reagan is one of America's largest warships and was deployed in Japan at the time of heightened tensions with North Korea and China. USS Ronald Reagan will be replaced by another nuclear-powered aircraft carrier, USS George Washington, which was deployed in Japan from 2008 to 2015. Reporting from Tokyo, Japan, I'm Natsumi Kojima, your global citizen correspondent for God in our beloved country, the Philippines.
The leaders of China and Russia pledged for stronger military ties as Beijing gave Russian President Vladimir Putin a grand welcome as part of his 2-day state visit. Trisha Molina has the news.
The presidents of Russia and China hailed a new era of friendship as both allies agreed to further strengthen their military cooperation. Days before the invasion of Ukraine in 2022, Chinese President Xi Jinping and his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin declared a no-limits partnership in the face of opposition by the West. Putin received a grand welcome as he traveled to Beijing for a 2-day state visit this week. The Russian president said he was grateful for China's initiatives to resolve the war in Ukraine. Both leaders have been strong allies and personal friends, with Putin's visit coinciding with the celebration of 75 years of diplomatic relations between Russia and China. Putin's visit happened a few weeks after U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken traveled to China, where he raised concerns about Beijing's support for Moscow and warned of sanctions, while Xi invited the United States to be partners and not rivals. After ending his trip, Blinken accused China of interference and stated in an interview that Washington has seen evidence of attempts by Beijing to influence the upcoming U.S. elections in November. Washington last month approved $60 billion in military aid for Ukraine and imposed a series of sanctions on Chinese companies accused of helping Russia in its war with the Ukrainians. Reporting, this has been Trisha Molina, SMNI News.
In a bid to tackle climate change, a science museum in Sao Paulo, Brazil is breaking new ground with virtual reality technology. Let's hear the news from Natalia Prado.
The Science Museum at the University of São Paulo, USP, is at the forefront of climate action, using VR simulation to educate visitors about climate change solutions. This initiative comes as the world celebrates International Museum Day, highlighting the theme Museum for Education and Research. The museum's VR technology allows visitors to explore, innovate climate solutions in an immersive world. It's not just for show. The USP, Center for Research and Innovation in Greenhouse Gases, uses this equipment to test and validate real-world climate change solutions from researchers, entrepreneurs, and startups. The museum aims to deepen public understanding of climate change and promote collective action. It combines technological simulation and art to engage visitors in discussing about reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Reporting, this has been Natalia Prado, your global citizen correspondent for SM9 News.
And before we end, may be inspired with the words of the sun. The more you imbibe the Word of God in your life, the more you acquire riches in heaven. And that's all for this edition. For more news updates, you may visit smninewschannel.com or follow us on our official social media accounts on Rumble, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. For God and my beloved country, the Philippines, I am Franco Baranda, and this is Newsline World.
This is SMNI News Channel. Truth that matters.
Subscribe to SMNI News Channel and turn on the notification bell to keep you up to date. Also visit our official social media accounts and join our community on Viber and Telegram.